Nikki Haley's going to come up in here in a moment here, and I want to go to you for that back in California, where she had a quick night too, I guess, right, Dana?
Yeah, she's here, and it's great to have her here. Welcome back to the debate arena. That you were here. What do you take away from last night in terms of President Trump not being there? Do you think he should have been there?
Well, you can't win if you're absent. And I think that, he's got a lot of questions to answer to. He's got to talk about the out-of-control spending that happened under his watch. He's got to talk about why he wasn't tougher on China and allowed them to buy up our land and steal our intellectual property and kill Americans with fentanyl. He's got to talk about why he's walking things back on Ukraine. There's a lot of issues that I think Americans are going to want answers to. Mm-hmm. And the more these debates play out and the more that he's not there, they're going to have a problem with that.
So the ad that Bill just played, it did catch my eye yesterday. So the Biden campaign is like, okay, fine, we're going to start doing some basically general election ads. President Trump does have this commanding lead. So if President Trump and Joe Biden are both basically running general election campaigns right now, does that leave everybody who was on the stage last night fighting for scraps?
No, I don't think so. And I know that the media says that, and I know pollings are saying that. But if you go to Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, people are talking about inflation. They're talking about how expensive not just groceries and gas are, but their rent. Unable to buy a home. 50% of families can't afford diapers. They're talking about the lack of transparency in the classroom and how they're going to catch their kids up. They don't like the open border. They're worried about China. They're not talking about Trump. They're talking about who's going to take us forward. And that's why I think we need a new generational leader. We can't keep looking at the old news from the past. We've got to go forward. But when it comes to that commercial, I think it's interesting. I think Biden, one, he wants Trump to be his opponent without question. But two, to go and sit there and talk about auto workers. I mean, Biden did this to the auto workers. The reason they're picketing is because of inflation. The reason they're picketing is because they can't afford things and they're living paycheck to paycheck. He did that with all of the stimulus packages.
And the push to the electric vehicles, and Doug Burgum brought that up last night. What do you think needs to happen between now and the third debate for you? And do you think the field will finally narrow?
I think that last night was important to contrast. I think now Americans want to say, okay, what's the difference between all of you? And I hope that I was able to show that, whether it's talking about, China and TikTok, whether it's talking about what we need to do in education, what we need to do in healthcare, really putting policy solutions.
On TikTok, one of the things, I don't have time to play the soundbite, but one of the things Vivek Ramaswamy was trying to say is that Republicans need to be on the platform if that's where all the voters are going to be anyway. Does that hold water with you?
I think if you're asking to be the leader of the free world, to go on a platform that is really controlled by our biggest enemy is not what you need to be telling young people. You need to be telling them the truth. You need to not do what's easy because they're on it. You need to say, look, did you know China can jump into your phone, take your financial information, take your contacts, get into your microphone and your camera? And this is a major espionage tool that China's using. Why are you getting on it? I think it disqualifies them right off the bat.
On the screen there on the right, you can see that the hearing is underway. James Comer is just starting this. This is the first impeachment inquiry hearing into the questions about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's finances. Where do you stand on this? Do you think that it should go even further?
Well, I think Department of Justice didn't do anything about this. And so I think the House is doing the right thing by saying there are more questions than there are answers.
Let's ask you're an accountant. Questions. Does some of this information that we get out of that as an accountant, do you think it sounds fishy?
It sounds very fishy. I mean, you have to look at bank accounts and say, okay, if you had millions of dollars going in, what did you do to get that money? Secondly, why did family members and acquaintances get that money too? What did they do to get that money? There are more questions than there are answers, and I think they're right to go and ask these questions. This isn't about Joe Biden or Donald Trump. This isn't about Republican or Democrat. This is about, are we going to allow our elected leaders to go and start moving their power around to gain money in the process?
Do you think that Biden was doing that, or that Hunter was trying to do that and using his father?
There's no way that Joe Biden didn't know this was happening. There's no scenario he can prove to the American people. He didn't know that Hunter was getting paid a lot of money, and he didn't know that when he called in during those special times that something wasn't there. He knew what was going on. I mean, we all look at him and say, oh, he's old, he didn't know any better. He knew when that money hit his bank account that he got it from somewhere.
All right, Nikki Haley, thank you, and safe travels to Iowa. Bill, she heads to Iowa.
Go to NikkiHaley.com.
All right, there we go. Thank you, ladies. Dana, nice transition there.